Hi, thank you so much for being here on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, of course.
I'm so excited to ask you so many questions. I've been following you for a while, and your story about how you started and how you got where you are now is one of the most relatable stories that I've found for petite models, because you did not get scouted in the street. You did not try just a few agencies and got signed. It was not like an overnight thing. It didn't happen in like 2 years. Like, it took you a lot of hard work to get where you are now. And that's why I love your story. Like, I love it. And I want people to hear it. And I want like the full story from like the very, very beginning until like where you are now. So
Okay.
Can you share us the whole thing?
All right, let's get into it. So, all right, so I am now 27 years old, and I started modeling probably, I'd say 15, 16 is when like I had the dreams of wanting to become a model, and that like came from watching America's Next Top Model and just like always looking up to Tyra Banks. And I think that show just, it kind of sparked something in me saying like, oh, I can do this too. And, you know, growing up, I would go do like my high school fashion shows. I would, you know, I'm from New Jersey, so I would like travel into the city by bus, and just, there used to be this website called Model Mayhem.
Yeah.
And I used to submit myself all the time. And it was just a website where you can work and do like TFP, which is trade for print, or just collab with other photographers, makeup artists, figure out, you know, how you guys can work together. So I would go into the city by bus and like submit myself for these jobs. And then like, that's how I kind of started like, you know, actively doing something besides like being in high school. I would just go into the city and figure it out. And I had my first shoot, and I still remember exactly how I looked, the makeup, the team, everything. But it wasn't until I actually turned 18 that I was like, okay, I can kind of do something for real. I'm a legal adult now. So I started auditioning for America's Next Top Model. And I auditioned 2 times when I was in college, my freshman year. And then it wasn't until like Tyra did a season with, she did like no height requirement. Yeah, and then that was like the third. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one. I saw it and I didn't even realize that I was short. I was just like, oh, that's cool that there's like no height requirement. But I didn't even think like I was short, you know?
Because I mean, we aren't really short. We're average. So that's the thing about this whole too short thing. So yeah, so that's that third time I auditioned, it was, she eliminated all height requirements, no requirement at all. So I don't know how, but like the casting director at the time for the show, Michelle Mock, they reached out to me and like, they're like, oh, can you fly to LA for this, you know, America's Next Top Model audition? And like, at the time I'm working at the Marriott. I'm like, I'm not really making any money. I'm just getting by to pay my bills. I'm a young adult. And like, I couldn't afford to fly to LA. So like a few of my friends and coworkers, they helped pitch in and got me a flight. Figured out I was working for the Marriott, so like I was able to get a hotel room like on a discount. Went there on faith, like with no money in my pocket, did the audition, and I kind of got close to like where I would have been on the show, but it didn't happen. But maybe about a year and a half later, someone like DM'd me from like, this is when DM, by the way, is like new on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, we didn't really, Instagram didn't say like, oh, here's this is our new feature, DM. So it was just like this little weird number in the corner, and I clicked it. And then I've had a message from someone I didn't know who's like, your photo screen was black. I'm like, who is this person? And the message said something like, you know, I'm working on the secret America's Next Top Model project. Can you come to LA? Blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm like, I'm broke. I can't get to LA. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And I always make a way. I made a way. And it turns out it was like Tyra's beauty line that she launched, Tyra Beauty. And I had no idea what it was. I get there and like, I'm just sitting in this room, and I just see this Amazon like walk by, and I'm just like, mouth dropped. And I'm just like, okay, this is real. Like, this isn't a joke anymore.
Uh-huh.
So it was like an amazing day, because I would say that's probably one of my first like real shoots before like I really started making money off of modeling.
Mm-hmm.
So like, to say you worked under Tyra and for her, and like she handpicked you, like that was probably like one of the best days of my life. So
Yeah.
that was awesome. And then I started, I came back home, and I always had that put in my mind now. I'm like, okay, I have to move to LA. Like, this is just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I come back home, I figure things out. One of my friends from college, I saw that she was doing some modeling, and I reached out to her, and she helped me like get a portfolio set up. By the way, stop me at any point and ask questions, because
Okay.
I'm like, this is a very detailed story.
No, but it's perfect. Like, this is what I want, because I really want girls to listen to how hard it is and how long it takes. So as many details as possible, I think that's perfect, so people understand.
So now then, we are probably 3 years into Dominique being an inspiring model.
Okay.
So like, timeline of events. So, I hook up with my friend. She sets me up with a photographer and another lady that she was working with, who was booking her on like hair jobs and things like that in Manhattan. So I went that route. She introduced me to her, and her name was Bobby Joe. And I built my portfolio. I took a few photos with this guy, Cliff, paid him. Anytime you want work for your portfolio, unfortunately, like not unfortunately, but like you have to invest in yourself. Yeah, exactly. It's just what you do. Mm-hmm. So no matter how long you have to save, this is something you want, invest in yourself, invest in that photographer. But yeah, so I built my portfolio. I started doing hair gigs in the city. So like, you can still see me if you ever go to like a beauty supply store for like braiding hair or something, like you'll see my face on those packages. But that's how it started. And then I just always wanted more. And then after that trip in LA working with Tyra, I had made a friend on set that day, and like we would stay in contact. She lived in California, so she'd just always be like, hey Dom, just move here, and like just really just like pushing me to go. And then like I finally was like fed up with like my life in New Jersey. I was like, not that it was a bad thing, but I had a boyfriend. It was just we were just very comfortable with each other. I was working at the Marriott, I was working at Hooters, and I was just working, and just doing my modeling here and there. Like, it was always my number one priority, but I just felt like it didn't like kick off.
Yeah.
So I just made a decision one day, and I was just like, I'm moving to LA in like 3 months. And I literally packed my car up, and I invited a friend to come with me. And she, at the time, was a fitness instructor and was really big on like fitness. So I was like, let's just plan together. Like, I wanted that support person with me. Yeah. So I kind of like, I persuaded her to come, and I was like, look, I'll be your guinea pig. You'll be my fitness instructor. Like, we can do this thing together in LA. Like, I got you, you got me. That's all we need right now. Yeah. Like, we're good. So she was down, and we packed my car, and we took a road trip to California, and we did it in 5 days. And like, we went there not having a place to live, like no house. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody, but I figured it out.
Yeah. But you were committed to like making it happen.
I knew what I was going there for. I was like very focused. Like, I just had that.
Yeah. I mean, that takes guts. Like, it takes guts. So I applaud you for doing that, because I'll be so scared. I mean, I'm sure you were scared, but you were still gonna do it,
Either way, I'm like very hard-headed in that way.
That's great.
But yeah, so we packed my car up, we drove there, and before we even hit the 2-week mark, she was out. And I had a decision to make. I either stay or I go. And if I go, it's like I have to drive my car back. So I'm on this single road trip alone now. So I stay, and I figure it out. And maybe a few weeks after being in LA, I don't know if you know the blog XO Nicole.
No.
But it used to be Nicole Bitchy. It used to be more of a gossip blog, but then she changed the route she was going with it, and she made it into more of a women's empowerment blog and like something positive.
Okay.
So right when I got to LA, they interviewed me just about my journey, and like it was more of a story about like how Tyra scouted me on Instagram and like just what I'm up to now.
I wonder if that's the blog that I found one time. That it told your story about Tyra, and it told your story about how moving to LA and like your friend living you? Because I was like researching about you, but it was like a while ago. And
that's the blog.
Okay.
Exo Nicole. So that article came out, and you know, it went viral. Like Tyra posted it on all her social platforms. They posted it on their social platforms. A few friends, it went viral, and a girl from like the East Coast, she saw it and she reached out to me, and I went to meet her for drinks, and like I was just we were just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thankful to know somebody, like meet someone else in California. Like I'm alone. I'm this young girl alone. So it was nice. Like we were able to talk and have real conversations, and like I was explaining to her my living situation, because at the time I was still technically an employee of Marriott. So I was still using my Marriott discount, and that's how I was like having shelter. So wherever there was a discount, that's where I would drive to sleep that night, basically.
Yeah.
So like, she's like, oh, my friend just bought this condo and I think she's renting out a room. And it just like kind of all fell into place. And I started renting this room in North Hollywood from, a friend of this girl I met randomly from this article she read about me, because she thought I was inspiring. So like things just kind of fell into place. I'm not saying like it wasn't hard, and like I went through so much things, like, like typical things. Like I still didn't have money, so I'm struggling there. I'm going to open casting calls. No one's accepting me. My car gets repoed. I get a bunch of parking tickets. Like anything that you can imagine that was thrown at me in LA got thrown at me in LA. And there was nights I cried. There was nights I slept in my car before it got repoed. Like then I got a hosting job, and I started making more money. And like the company I was hosting for as a restaurant host, it was a very big like LA like hospitality group. So like I met a lot of like important people that would come in. Like it was just a good networking thing. Like it was a good side hustle. And then I also knew that like modeling was the number one priority. So I needed to have a job that was at night. After 5 o'clock, after 6 o'clock, because I need my days open for whatever castings. But I was before in agency, I was on LAcasting.com submitting myself, wake up every morning like clockwork, scroll down everything that there's, and I'm like, yep, submit. Like it's really a hustle when you're not signed, and you gotta like, you're the only person that's gonna vouch for you, so you gotta do all the work. So over the course of like that first year and a half, everything going down, homeless, car situation, money, subletting here and there, like I finally got signed after a year and a half of being in LA, and I signed to Wilhelmina. Which was like a huge deal for me, because when I was like going to open casting calls there, they were always kind of like interested, but not really like
fully committed.
Yeah. So it was just never a yes. And then because of the job I had working in nightlife, one of the promoters that I ended up being friends with, like it was so random. One day, like he just invited me out to this Adidas event. And I was like, sure, why not? And I had work that night, but I went before work, and I was just there with him hanging out, and a scout from Wilhelmina came up to me, and she's like, hey, like, are you signed? And I was just like, no. She's like, oh, I'm a scout. My name's Vivian. I'm a scout with Wilhelmina. I love your look. She gives me her card and everything. And I'm like, this is crazy, because I've literally been into Wilhelmina so many times, and now I'm just like doing me, not even like trying, just being myself, and I get scouted. So like I did get scouted technically, but it wasn't I don't know how. You know what I mean?
How many times did you try for that? Like, say like a year and a half. How many times did you try? Like, how many times did you attend the Wilhelmina open call until?
Wilhelmina specifically 3 times. But I went to other agencies. I went to LA Models. I went to, at the time it was Bella Agency. But now they're state management, I believe. I went to them. I went to like anything
that was agency legit.
Yes. Even before signing to Wilhelmina, I did sign, like this guy messaged me via LA Casting, and it was kind of like a scam in a way, because he wasn't very professional, but like I did work like a job or 2 with him, but like I don't think I ever saw the money for it. Through LA Casting, he like Yeah, so you just have to be careful with those kind of people because you don't really know. His office changed, and I was just like, what is going on here? But it was more of a talent agency versus like a Wilhelmina strict modeling agency. So basically, after getting scouted that night, Wilhelmina brings me in a few times. Like even after being scouted and going in for the meetings, I went into meetings 3 times before they actually signed me. They wanted to see my natural hair, then they wanted to see my hair with a wig on, or like straight or whatever. And then they wanted to like have me meet the team. And then they finally signed me. And I was just like I cried. I made a cute little jingle that day. I remember because one of my friends was with me when I signed, and I was just like, I'm a Willy girl in the Willy world. Like, it was just really like, I was happy. Like, it was just like a milestone that I finally achieved. Just like, wow, it happened. So that's like my LA story. And, you know, shortly after signing with them, I signed with them in like November of 2017, I want to say.
So from the moment that you started thinking about modeling around like 15, right?
So that was...
And you actually actively started trying and working towards it by 18. So between 18 and the time that you signed with Wilhelmina, how long passed? How many years?
Between 18 and by the time I signed, I think it was like 4 or 5 years, because I'm in college at 18, auditioning for Top Model and things like that. When I was in LA, I celebrated my 20s. Okay, let me do the math. 1 second, I got to backtrack. I'm 27. I had a birthday just now. I was 26. I had 2 birthdays. I think I was 22 or 23. So so it was at least 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years, yeah.
From the time I was in college auditioning for Top Model to the time I signed with my first legit agency, 4 to 5 years.
Nice.
It's a long time. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment.
You know, I just want people to hear it, you know, because I you know, you'll get the same messages, you know, like, hey, I tried to 2 agencies and I never heard back. I'm so discouraged. Like, I don't know what to do. And then I'm just like, well, it's going to take you a lot more than applying to 2 agencies to get where you want to get.
It's hard because it's like, I want to scream so many times all the time, like, you have to do the work. You got to do the work. But I also want to say it in such a nice way. It's like, look, I didn't get to where I am by just like having someone to give me all the answers. You got to, the more work you put into it and like, yourself, that's where you're going to see the results from. No one can literally hand you the blueprint. Like, it's, you know what I mean? You have to create your own because it's different for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So after you signed with Wilhelmina, what happened next?
Okay, so I signed to Wilhelmina, and a couple months later, I think it was like the holiday season. So like come January, I start working, which is nice. I had like 1 or 2 jobs with them, and then it was slow for a bit. I'm like, okay, but that's how it is. You have to be pushing the market. They have to know, the clients have to know you're there, and like, you know, you have to build your clients. You have to go to castings and meet casting directors. So a few months went by and I wasn't working, which caused me to stress out, which caused my skin to break out a lot. So like come like a few months later, 4 or 5 months later, when I really started booking these beauty jobs and things like that, now my skin is a mess. And I'm just like, wow, like, how is this happening to me? And like, I remember my agent literally said to me, like, they can't even send me out with the way my skin looked. And like, no, it was bad. It was bad. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like my skin journey pictures when I post here and there, but like I had just so much texture on my skin, and it was really bad. So I started, one of the girls at Wilhelmina that I became friends with, she recommended me to her facialist. So I was like, I don't care what it costs. Like, I gotta get this done. And I started getting facials, and like, you can see immediate results after like 30 days. Like you see the progress of my skin. And from there, like, I was just working. It was fine. Like, there's a problem. I find a way to fix it. And that's just always how I've always been, basically. But yeah, it was like a good first year with Wilhelmina. And then I was still working at my job, by the way.
Okay.
So I didn't have the finances to be like, okay, I can quit this job now. I'm full modeling. Nope. Mm-hmm. It was always, I'm a model, but I got to pay my bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then maybe like a year after being with Wilhelmina, work was really good in LA. Like I was really building a clientele, but then I always just want more. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm done here. And I'm from New Jersey. So like coming home to the East Coast is like, it's something that I have to do. So I was like, you know what? My friend was like, let's go to New York Fashion Week. Not that we had like events or anything to go to. It was just more about being in New York for Fashion Week.
Okay.
So we went, and I asked my agent at Wilhelmina, because I signed a mother agent contract with Wilhelmina. So although they are a big agency, they offered me a mother agency contract. So they are my mother agent. So their job is to place me into other markets. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to New York. Can you guys reach out to some agencies and try to set some meetings up for me? And they did, but the only agency that wanted to see me was Wilhelmina, New York. And that was a given because I'm already with the network. So I flew to New York, had the meeting, and no, the feedback was, she is too short for the New York City market. I said, okay. To me, I didn't take it like that. I was like, okay, let me go back to LA, get some more clients under my belt, work there, and 6 months later, I'll ask you guys again to set up some meetings. So that's exactly what I did. Turns out one of my friends was having a baby, and she had a baby shower almost 6 months later. And I was like, you know what? I'm going back to New York, guys. I have this going on. Can you guys try to set some more meetings up? And at the time, the agent that was representing me, her response to me was, you know, babe, like, we just tried this. You heard what the feedback was last time, that you were too short for the market, like very discouraging. And I was like, yeah, I remember they said that, but like, can we still try again? Like, thank you. And, you know, they set some meetings up for me. And at that time, I think I had maybe 3 or 4 meetings, which is better than one. And even Wilhelmina, New York wanted to see me again, which was odd to me because I'm like, you guys just said I'm too short.
Yeah.
So go back, do the meetings, and I met with Women 360 Management and all the agents under that office, which is also Supreme and Women Management.
Yeah.
I met with State Management. I met with 1.1 New York City, and that was it. I believe IMG said that they would be a disservice to me, and I think the Lions just passed and DNA passed. So I was happy that I got like 4 meetings. So I went to them, did great, fly back to LA the next day, and I just wait for the week. And then like by the end of that week, I get like a call saying that like 360 wants to sign me, and I'm like crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I'm signing in New York. Like New York, moving to LA
was a stepping stone for New York.
Was literally a stepping stone for New York. I only left because I'm from the East Coast. So like, obviously if I could have just gotten straight into New York, I would have just been in New York. But you know, the criteria is different. So the reason I moved to LA was like, you know what? It's a little bit more commercial. Let me just get my foot in the door over there, figure it out, and then I'll come back. So, and that's literally how it happened. I'm like, okay, I'm signing. And at the time it was just like, mind you, I like just got like settled in LA. Like, I just got my own little studio. Like, it was in the middle of being furnished. Like, I was just finally feeling like, wow, I did this. I conquered LA. I'm making something for myself here. Yeah. And then I get signed, and I'm like, well,
no,
so like, cancel that lease. I sell my couch, and you know, 360 is saying, yeah, we want her to come in like April, May, and I'm like, all right. And at first, it was only supposed to be 3 months. So I was like, okay, cool. Because that's like the proper time you need to be in a market for them to be like, okay, people know who you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I just put my stuff in storage, like all my clothes, and took what I needed. And I went. And before I got there, I actually booked my first job. It was like, I was literally working my last job in LA for Tom's. And then my new agent from New York is calling me like, hey, can you send me some pictures of you? Clinique is like interested in you for a job. And I'm like, Clinique, like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what? So like, I send the pictures, and like, I think that same day I got confirmed. And I was like, this is like crazy. So like, I was already going to New York with like a huge client. Like what? And so, yeah, I fly. I have a little going away party. I fly to New York. And thankfully, like one of my high school friends, she had a friend in college who was subletting her room. So I just like subletted for a little bit and figured it out. And I worked that first week I got to New York. I worked my first job for Clinique. And literally, I got off set, and 2 hours later, my agent's calling me like, "Hey, Clinique wants to book you again. You're gonna be working like a week and a half with them again." I'm like,
"That's amazing."
You know, like I'm like this is really. I was just on such a high horse that first week in New York, just like walking around. Like I just remembered how happy I was just being here, the environment and the atmosphere.
You were like, I'm making it. I'm doing something.
But yeah, so high horse that first week, and I was just like so grateful. I'm like, wow. And like just even going into the agency, so like I do the job, I go into the agency that first week, we do our digitals, like I meet the team. Just so happy. We just had that conversation about like what clients do you want to have, like, you know, the important questions like where do you see yourself, and like just getting on the same page and getting to know one another. And you know, I let them know, and it was just off to a really, really great start in New York. And I signed a 3-year contract with Women 360. So I'm actually in my 3rd year right now. So it's so crazy that I've already been in New York for 2 years and like signed with an incredible agency, and I'm working, and I'm a short girl, like defying all odds. Like, you know, to say that I'm a full-time model and that I can actually like pay my bills and, you know, and then some, just off of my career. And all my life I've been told I've been too short to do this.
Yes.
Kind of like amazing. It really is amazing.
It is. So I think I actually found you before I knew who you were, because I always check other agencies to see if like they're signing like shorter models. So I think I was checking Milk Model Management, and I think I saw you there. And that was way before I knew who you were. So, you know, I was just like scrolling, and I was like, hey, this model's Petite, and she's with Milk. And then, you know, I passed and whatever. I had no idea, you know, like it was you. And then a while after, I found you. How did I find you? Well, I found you, and then I clicked it. So how did you get to Milk Model Management? Because that's in London.
Again, that's me just always wanting more and just wanting, like, not being, I mean, it's not even that I'm not patient. It's just like, I'm always like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So now, you know, I'm in New York, and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to be an international model. Like, I can get signed in London. So I reached out to Wilhelmina, because they're my mother agent. And I'm like, hey, like, one of my really good friends, Tashi, she was in London because she signed with Storm. So she was spending some time there. So I've never been. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to meet you out there and like hang out with you. So like, I literally was only going to London to visit my girl Tashi while she was spending like 2 months there. And I tell Wilhelmina, hey, I'm going to London. Can you guys set some meetings up while I'm in London? And they did. And I saw Milk. I saw Wilhelmina London. I saw a few agencies. I forgot all of them. But Milk literally signed me on the spot. And no other agency there in London offered me a contract. So I was like, okay, I'm going with Milk. Like, why not? Like, so Milk is like, perfect. We'd love to have her in like January or whatever. So a couple months later, now I'm in London, and I leave. I'm still based out of New York, but I'm like, I'm going to go spend 3 months in London. So I went to London, spent 3 months with Milk. Unfortunately, it wasn't as great as New York went, which is fine. Like, you have your ups, you have your downs, you have those markets that work for you and that don't work for you. And timing is also everything. So I think it was just bad timing. So I didn't work much in London, and maybe almost a year ago now, Milk actually dropped me. They were like, you know, they dropped me.
Was it because they were not being able to like book you a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really say why. They just said that they were cleaning up the board, which is more than enough good reason for me, because it's not like options were coming in for me, you know? So like, there's no love lost there. It didn't work with me and Milk, and that's fine. It's not always going to work with any agency you sign. I'd rather not be signed in the London market and then be able to have opportunities, so versus being signed and sitting on a board and not working.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I can still say that I I did work a little bit. I worked for Topshop there for their Petite e-com. So like I did some things there that I'm like really happy about.
Yeah.
And I got the chance to like live in London, and I met great people from it. I have like 2 friends that were my roommates there, that one's from Norway, one's from Australia, and we still keep in contact. So sometimes just because you don't have like the best modeling experience, you still have really good life experiences.
Yeah, for sure. I think any experience in terms of like modeling is a good experience. Like, even if you don't make the money, even if you don't get signed, even if you don't book the job, like, whatever you did is going to help you. You know, it's going to make you, like, build a little bit more confidence, or it's going to prepare you for the next step. Like, it's always a good thing, even if you don't get exactly what you wanted.
They're little stepping stones. Like, I'm still learning and, like, learning angles and, like, how to pose correctly for my body. Like, it's a learning process. You're always going to be learning. It's always something new, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like, yeah, like, you don't stay the same. We're the actual, like, I guess, you know, we transform.
Exactly. Yeah. And is Wilhelmina still your mother agent, or do you switch?
No. I've gone through a lot in the last few years, a lot of business decisions, because we have to remember it is a business at the end of the day. As much as it's like glitz and glam, it's a business, and like you kind of have to make the right choices for yourself. And at the time, I just felt like Wilhelmina as a mother agent wasn't really doing what I needed for them, because now I'm in the industry for a few years. I have friends who have like, you know, mother agents that are like one person, and then how they really focus on the girls and like those things. And I felt like I wasn't Wilhelmina, and I didn't have that mother agent relationship. They were my big agency, my LA agency. And you know, nothing against them, but like after moving to New York, like I wasn't working in the LA market. Which is fine. I'm not in the LA market, but it was just those little things. It's just like, you know, all right, I think I need to move on from this. It was great while it happened, and I ended my contract with them.
Like everything, even like being a model for them.
Yeah, everything, because I re-signed, and I let them know, like, we had the conversation. It's just so important to have conversations, even if it makes you or them feel uncomfortable. But I just had the conversation, like, look, I don't think it's working out. I'm not sure I want to sign on for 2 more years. I can agree to 1, but I can't give you guys 2 years right now based off of X, Y, and Z. I had everything to back it up, you know? And they didn't agree with that, but they also they don't believe in holding models in their contracts. So we agreed upon, you know, let's see how it goes the next few months. If I'm not feeling it still, then we can peacefully depart. And I still wasn't feeling it, so we peacefully departed. There was just a few instances where I felt like they didn't have my back in the way I needed them to have my back as a mother agent. So no love lost. And then, you know, I did my research on what a mother agent should be doing. Like, I have friends who have amazing mother agents, and the markets that they get placed in, and how their mother agent really vouches for them. And, you know, I didn't have that for a few months. And I'm just at Women 360 now. Now I went from having a London agency, a LA agency, and a New York agency to 1 agency. And I'm only signed in 1 market right now, just New York. So dealing with that was like really hard, because it's like, wow, like, you know, those are all your streams of different income that are now possibly stopped. So, you know, you get into your head and you make things up and you work yourself up. But eventually I reached out to a few mother agents, and one of my good friends is doing really, really well. And she's like, you know, you should sign to my mother agent. And like, she sent him some of my things, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to set up a meeting with her. And we set the meeting up. He loved me like instantly. And, you know, I've been repped by him, I think, since September now. It's almost a year.
Oh, and technically.
Yeah, he's been doing like, he's gotten meetings. He's gotten me meetings in LA market. He's been pitching me to other global markets. He's the one who sent me to Korea.
Okay, that's going to be my next question.
Go to the next question.
Okay, so you went to Korea.
Yes.
So I want to know, like, how was that thought process for you? Like, did you make the choice? Was your mother agent that advised you to do that? And overall, how was the experience?
Okay. So I didn't make the choice. No. I I trust my mother agent in his judgment and his knowledge of the industry. And he said, basically, when we met, it was more like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is the money I'm making, but this is also what I want to do. And I wanted to also do fashion. So he saw me as that fashion girl too. And he's like, okay, let's prove a point. You're not too short. We can do, you can pose like this and this and this, like teaching me, not giving me a lot of knowledge. He goes, you know what? We got to get you to Korea. You know why? Because their productions are amazing. They have amazing artists. You can get some high fashion tests in your book. Hopefully we can get like a Vogue Korea or something like that. He just had a vision and a plan. And I was with it. And I was like, okay, Korea, cool. Like, never been there, but I'm down to do it. Like, it's a life experience. Like, I got, part of the reason I love modeling is because I always wanted to travel. So it makes it like easier. Like, I can travel for my job. Great. So that's why I went to Korea. The thought process of going, I wasn't like scared or anything. I knew it was like such a foreign country and a whole different continent. Never been to Asia. Like, they don't speak my language. I don't speak their language. So it was just going to be a learning process and something that I was open to. Like, why not? It's going to make me a better person at the end of it. So I went. The agency I was with in Korea was Ever Models. And I was supposed to be there on a 65-day contract, but COVID happened.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
So I was there for about 2.5 weeks before having to leave, like, because I didn't know if I would like get shut out of the country or what the case was. So I had to make the decision to leave, or I probably would have been stuck for a while there. But getting there and arriving there, like, of course, I'm like one of the only Black girls. Like, actually, I was the only Black girl, not one of the only. I was the only Black girl. Definitely like a culture shock. But like the agency was welcoming, but they took my measurements like day 2, height, weight, bust, hips, waist, all that stuff. And my measurements that my mother agency sent them, as far as my height, did not measure up to what they measured me as. It was about like a centimeter off, 2 centimeters off, which is like not even really an inch, I think. But they were like making a really big deal about it. Like, he didn't tell us you were this short and we're going to send you home if you don't book a job in 2 weeks. And like that day I cried. I'm just like, I literally cried at the agency. I get off this 13-hour flight. And I'm so excited to be in this new place, and I'm being told I'm too short. And for me, it was like, wow, like I have all these things under my belt, all these jobs and clients that I have, and I've been working so hard for all these years. And I go to a market, and they're still telling me to my face that I'm too short to do this.
Oh my God!
And it was just like, we have our down moments, and that's okay. And I had a few down moments in Korea. Korea was like a lot of down moments, actually, because the way the castings work there, it was, we go to group castings if you're selected, and then like they're speaking in Korean and you don't know what they're saying, and then it's like, okay, you change. And like they would never, that first week I would have like 7-8 castings a day. And I didn't understand why I would be at these castings, but then they didn't want to take a picture of me or see me in the clothes. I was just, so like, I think it happened like 3 or 4 times in a row in one day. And I was just like so over it. And I was just like, it messed my confidence up so much. I was just like, what am I, like, it was sad. It was sad that first week and a half, like that first 10 days in Korea was sad for me. Like just even like living in a model apartment, never did that before. Cause I'm used to having my own space. I've worked so hard to like, I think I just moved into my apartment in like January before.
I remember that. I was like, you guys, I just moved. And then I see again your story like a few days later. Guys, I'm going to Korea. And I was just like, she just literally moved to her new place and she's leaving.
Literally. So like, I felt like I worked so hard to have what I have now. And then I come to Korea and I'm just being treated like I didn't work this hard, and like I'm like, I can be home, my beautiful apartment that I paid too much money for in New York, like, but I'm home, I'm in this apartment that's filthy with all these girls who, everyone's different. Like, eventually we opened up to each other, but I was also the oldest person there. Like all the girls were 14, 15, 16, really? 17, 18, like, and I'm a 26-year-old girl who's like it gets a sense of like, I felt lost. It's like, well, am I supposed to be here? Like, is this really like part of my journey? Like, am I supposed to be in Korea? So
Yeah.
love Korea. I wish I could have stayed and finished out my contract, because I did, by the way. I ended up booking a job the second week. And like that client booked me 3 times that week. And like I booked a, was it Adidas, not Adidas, like a Puma campaign, I think.
Okay.
But then I left. I chose to leave before the campaign shot because they changed the date of it. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I have to go, because like the COVID numbers were going up and up and up. Yeah. So I just left and I didn't do the campaign, but I left Korea making zero money. It was all an investment. Every dollar that the agency invested in me for my flight, my visa, all that stuff, the 3 jobs that I worked there literally covered that. So I left with no money. I hate to say loss. It wasn't a loss, because I've learned a lot of things, but I didn't leave with money. And it was only like, I spent a lot of money in 2.5 weeks of just being there. Because, a flight to Korea, you're paying $3,000 round trip almost. Like, it's expensive.
Yeah. And then you have to pay for the model apartment, because also like really expensive. I've heard, like even more expensive than just like getting your regular place.
They charge you for the model apartment. They charge you for transportation. They give you money weekly. I don't know if this is all agencies, because they didn't do this in London, but like they give you money weekly, which is just goes on your account so you can buy your groceries and everything. But once you start working, all that money, they take it from your checks. So you don't really make anything. And they take 40%.
40.
Yeah. So it's like,
That's
even
insane.
if you make something, they still make more than you. So it's a different market. So like, if I was able to get like a few tear sheets and like some great fashion images, I would have been so thankful, but I didn't.
Because it was so quick.
But they did say that I'm lovely and that they would always have me back. So maybe in the future, but I don't know. We'll see.
So they changed their mind about you being too short after all?
Right. After all, too short for what?
Yeah.
Basically.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I guess touching base into the whole, like the agency paying for you and then taking out of your check. Because I know sometimes models choose to pay it on their own from their pocket because they don't want to own the agency. So for like, I guess for Korea, you chose for the agency to pay for you and then take it out of your check. Like, or you didn't choose that and that's just the way that it happened, or like how
I didn't really choose it, but like I'd rather them, like, the thing is, like, I went there on a guarantee. So like in the 65 days I'm supposed to be in Korea, I'm guaranteed X amount of money no matter what. So I can, as long as I finish the 65 days, they have to pay me that money that they guaranteed me. Or if I work over that amount, then that's when, it comes out of my check. So like, being that I already had a guarantee, I didn't want to invest my own, like, out of my bank money to like pay for the flight and things like that. Had I known what the model apartment situation was like, I would have planned accordingly, and I would have definitely looked into Airbnbs prior to.
Okay.
If I ever went back, I would definitely negotiate the transportation, because I think that's a ripoff. How much we pay in transportation versus, like, because they drive us to all of our castings, but there's a very great metro there, and I can learn that, and I'd rather pay $1 for something than pay X amount a week for transportation when everything's super close. So there's things I would negotiate in and out of my contract if I did it again.
Okay, that's really interesting. I've never heard of getting a really short contract with an agency and them doing that. Like, I've never heard that.
I think it's like I don't know if it's other markets, but for sure, like the Asian market, Beijing,
they do that.
Korea, what's the other city in China? But basically the Asian market, they do that. Yeah.
Okay, had no idea. But when you went to London and you stayed there, how was that experience in terms of like you paying for your flight, your stay, and all that stuff?
London was the same thing. They bought the flight. The stay was they basically set up Milk Bottle Management specifically. They have landlords that they work with in London, and they rent their extra rooms out to models at the agency. So the agency still paid the landlords every week, and it would just go on my account. And then I also left with zero money from London. I think they owe me a little bit, but like it wasn't something that it was like maybe £90, 100 or something dollars, and I was just like, I wasn't gonna stress it. So, but yeah, everything goes through the agency, and it goes on my statement. When I work, they take the money. Same thing.
Got it.
But I think you can always work out that you want to pay for yourself. Like it's something that can always be worked out. You don't have to, but you also sometimes just don't want to spend your money because like it's not, if you leave in debt, you don't really owe it technically, depending on the agency in your contract. Because if I would have left with owing my Korea agency, I wouldn't have owed anything to them because I was supposed to be guaranteed something. With London, it was different. I probably would have had a negative statement on my balance, and anytime I did work, they would just finally take it off. So sometimes the agency has to just take the loss, and sometimes they take the win.
Interesting. Yeah. Because like so far in like the podcast, like I've had like other like models, including like Aliana. So I've asked them, I always like to ask that question, you know, because I want, you know, to inform models. So yeah, they have said for their experience that they pay out of their pocket for like everything. The agency hasn't like paid for them, and then they pay the agency.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's different for everyone. I'd rather just them.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like it's really nice to hear like other experiences, so people know. Yeah, you know.
But if you're confident that you'll work in a market, like I think like no agency is gonna bring you somewhere if they're not even confident that you're gonna work at least 1 or 2 jobs to pay them back. You know?
Yeah.
So it's great that if you can afford it, but you might not make it back then, and then you're just, it's your loss versus their loss. So I think it's just experience and what you prefer.
Yeah.
But like, you know, when I bought my ticket to London for meeting agencies, that was an investment in myself. Like certain things you invest, and certain things you let them invest.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it also depends on like the type of agency, how big it is, and things like that. Because some agencies can't do that, or they're not really thinking of doing that with you, you know? Like, and sometimes you're the one that has to take the investment and say like, okay, I am going to buy the flight and I'm going to pay for the rent and check that market out and see what happens.
And you also have to look at like the time. Like this is me telling you that I'm spending time in these markets. This is like 65 days to 3 months in these markets. Some girls aren't spending that much time. They might spend a week or two. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'll buy my flight there. And they also have jobs lined up. So it's a different situation for everybody.
Yeah. I interviewed Miriam, like she's Miss Universe Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, and then she got signed in London, and before she even got to London, she had already like 3 jobs booked or something like that, and she paid everything out of her pocket, but obviously those jobs help her like.
Right. Yeah. When you know you have jobs coming, you might as well just pay it for you. Yeah. It's like, cool, I got this, because that way you get all your money. Yeah. And then like also when they book your flight and everything, they're not booking the best flight for you, the cheapest flight. They're just looking at a flight because they give it to their travel agency. Their travel agency books whatever, and then they also charge you like a percentage. So it's a lot.
Yeah. I've heard, I can't remember who it was that said this, but yeah, I've heard that when an agency buys you a plane ticket, it's not like the best seats or the best ticket that you get. You're just getting whatever. You're
just getting there.
Yeah. Like the whole point
is like say, hey, I want a window seat, or hey, I need to sit in a main cabin. Like unless you specify these things, they're not gonna be like X, Y, and Z. They're just gonna give you whatever.
Yeah. So now that you've had like all the experience and you're like based in New York and with Women 360, what are usually the type of jobs that you do?
A lot of beauty jobs, like.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you on CoverGirl today, and I was so happy for you. So happy.
Thank you, girl. I feel like I've almost worked with every beauty client, except for maybe like Estee Lauder and L'Oreal. Like, I've worked for CoverGirl, I've worked for Maybelline, I've worked for Urban Decay, I've worked for Clinique, I've worked for Becca, I've worked for Benefit, I've worked for like just so many. Like, I'm just like, when am I gonna get a contract from one of these people? That's like my next thought. That's my next thought process. But I'm a beauty girl, and honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world, because a lot of people think, oh, fashion this, fashion that. And I also used to think fashion this, fashion that. And I only wanted to do fashion because that's like what all the cool girls were doing. But beauty, commercial, and that lane is where you're making your money. And
exactly,
you can be just as successful as a fashion girl. Like, the industry makes it seem like these fashion girls are making all the money. And some of them, yes, they are. But that money is commercial clients and beauty clients. I'm sorry, I wouldn't change it for the world. I would love to shoot for clients like Gap and, Banana Republic. Still, like, those are definitely at the top of my list. I did a shoot for Abercrombie the other day.
Nice.
Thank you. At home too, so it was nice. But I do a lot of beauty. I'm a beauty girl, and I'm not mad to say it. I'm happy to say it.
Yeah, no, I love beauty. And same as you, like, I thought, like, fashion, like, that's what I want. And, like, if it's not that, then I'm not gonna make it or whatever. And then you start, doing your research and actually experiencing how much it pays and all that stuff, and talking to different agents. And you realize that, the commercial world is a really big fish, as big as the fashion world, and I think, like, we need to, like, teach people to not think that modeling equals fashion, and if you don't have the fashion, then you're not a model.
And I think we have a lot of work to do with that still in the industry, because it's like, for somebody who does a lot of beauty, I do a lot of beauty, but for me to get a beauty contract, those types of clients want to see you doing fashion things as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I can do this so well, but you're still going to give it to the fashion girl because she's been in Vogue or she's been in this. And we got to work twice as hard. It's a difficult thing, because it's a love-hate thing. It's like, I know I can do this. Why aren't you guys letting me do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true, because I took Coco Rocha's model camp, and she was saying how the editorial work, like being on Vogue and those type of, like, fashion work, doesn't really pay that well or at all. But she does,
or at all.
Yeah, exactly. But she does it because if she's doing really well with commercial, but then they kind of, like, don't really, like, kind of, like, forget about her because they haven't seen her on, like, Vogue or, like, a big magazine. So then she has to do that type of, like, free or lower pay work, so that she can get the bigger commercial work that pays more. So it's very interesting that you do, like, the free lower pay work to be able to actually get the commercial work that nobody really talks about, nobody, like, praises as much as fashion. So I think it's just, like, just people need to learn more, and we just need to put more information out there, like, hey, if you're not doing fashion, you're not, like, not successful, like, it's fine. Like, commercial pays a lot of money. Like, a lot of money.
Yeah. E-com pays a lot of money. You just got to be a specific model to want to only do e-com. Like, e-com is tough. I've heard 5 days a week. Like, it's tough.
I've heard. It's like,
so
I don't know.
I applaud e-com models, but they make money. These girls buy houses off of e-com, doing it 5 days a week. So good for them. Like,
yeah, I've heard that you can even get paid like $1,000 for 1 day of e-com, and then if you do it like 5 days a week and you're doing it constantly with the same client, like, that's great money.
You can literally if you do e-com 5 days a week, you can make at least like $7,000 to $8,000 in that week.
Sign me up.
It's great. Like, the average person is making $8,000 a week,
Yeah.
Although, like, you got to think about it, we're also not getting taxed on this money, so take about 30% off of that. So then if you do it the real way and you include taxes and all those things, and we are making what the average person. It's just a lot less. It's just easy money, I guess, but it's still hard on our bodies and everything, on our eyes, the flash. It's a lot.
And getting to the point that you actually book those jobs, because you didn't start today and then tomorrow you're getting paid $5,000 a week. Obviously, that doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so there's so many different lanes, but I don't think you need to necessarily put yourself into a lane. Like, Just do what you do. If you want to work with certain clients, write those clients down and just have those conversations with your bookers.
Yeah, exactly. I like somebody asked me the other day, like, what did she ask? She asked kind of like, what do I need to do to like be able to like, you know, be a professional model and get where I want to get if I think she said she was like 5'4" or something like that, or like 5'2". And I told her, do as if you were 5'9". Just act the same way, you know, work on your portfolio as you were 5'9", submit to agencies as you were 5'9", do the exact same things. I mean, the worst that can happen is that you don't get exactly like the fashion jobs, but you'll get pretty far with maybe like beauty and commercial. I mean, working for Target is like a great client, and
that's a great client to have. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, just to see yourself in a Target commercial or in Target is like an amazing thing. Like, anytime I see myself, I'm happy. I'm like, wow, like, look, I did this. Yeah. And it's just another milestone in your career.
Mm-hmm. So now I want to talk about your movement, Too Short for What. So maybe like a little bit about like how you started, like the slogan of it, and then like what you hope to achieve with it. Like, people that don't know about Too Short for What, like what would you tell them about it?
Okay, so Too Short for What was birth, literally me prepping myself for New York City meetings the second time around. And I was in LA, and two of my girlfriends were over, and I'm just like, guys, I'm so excited about these meetings. I'm nervous. Like, what am I going to tell these people? Like, I need to set myself apart from all the other girls. Like, why are they going to like Dom? Like, why are they going to like me? And then like, we were just having this conversation. I was like, I've been doing this for so many long, and I've always been told I was like too short. And then I was like, but too short for what? And then my friend's like, yo, that's it. That's it. Too short for what? And it was just like that moment. We were like, ooh, we literally just birthed this thing, and it just was happening off of a conversation about me just being like super frustrated about what I've gone through and why I'm not where I wanted to be. So that's how Too Short for What was birthed. But it's literally my life. It's too short for what? Why are you guys telling me I'm too short?
Yeah.
What am I too short for? Like, too short to model sunglasses and use my face? Like, it's a legit question. So it just turned into more of an empowering thing. Like, I want to use this statement to empower other girls like myself, because I didn't have somebody to say like, guys, look, you guys can still do this. You can be short. Yes, there was Kate Moss. Yes, there's a few other shorter models, but there was nothing like, they were always the exception, you know? Yeah, exactly. The Too Short for What movement is a movement that I'm really passionate about. And I want other shorter models, petite models to know that they can do exactly what I'm doing. You just have to keep going, and like, don't let anybody tell you you're too blank for anything. It's like such a broad thing. It goes for like a little girl who wants to be an engineer, an architect, a coder. Like, don't let anybody tell you you're less than. And that's really just, if you break it down, it's for everyone. Like me specifically, yes, it's modeling. And what I can talk about to pertain to my life and my journey is modeling, and how I was always told I was too short, but I did it anyway. So it's like, do it anyway. But it can also go for the person who wants to sing and be a musician, and someone's telling her that she's too blank for this. So it's just like, don't let anybody tell you that. Take your power back. Yeah. Take it. What's short? You know what I mean? Short is now positive for me. You know, and then it's just simple facts. It's also like, if you really break it down, like the average size women in America, they're 5'4", they're petite. So why isn't the fashion industry portraying that? Like, I'm not just saying it. I can break it down to facts too. You know, it's a real thing. So
exactly, and it's not even like, it's not even just like, okay, like it's the beauty idea, whatever. It's just like, when we shop, like I'm sure it happens to you too and any other girl. Like, when you shop and you want to shop for a dress or some pants, if they don't have a petite like section on the store, it's not gonna fit you.
It's not gonna fit.
You know,
it's too long. The sleeves are too long. The hemlines are too long. So it's like, why? Who are you guys making clothes for?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just make clothes for the girls on the runway, because the girls on the runway don't represent all of America. They represent a fraction of 1% of America.
Exactly.
Of women in America, you know? So who's buying these clothes that you guys are selling to? Why do I have to if I invest into a piece, why do I also have to invest in getting it tailored?
Exactly.
Why am I doing that?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like, okay, you can just like do it, whatever, you know, but it's kind of thinking like if the numbers are there, like if the average woman is below 5'4", why is the clothes not made for the average woman?
That's really as simple as you can put it. It's just like, why is it there? Yeah. And then it's like a lot of brands now, they have petite like I guess lines or whatever. Mm-hmm. But even the models who shoot the petite, they don't show it. They don't showcase a petite model shooting in their petite clothes. It's like, how can you offer a petite size, but you can't even like show how it can look on somebody my size? Like, there's room for us in this industry. So like, just let us do it. It's just like the industry can have, you know, so many different lanes and so many different lanes of diversity now, but like, it's still like within body diversity, short girls are still like, height does not get talked about. And I'm like, y'all forget about height? Like,
yeah, whenever, because I read, obviously before this like COVID happened, I always would read the it was like diversity like analysis that they will come up after every like New York Fashion Week or any like fashion week like in Milan or like Paris or whatever, and it was a diversity. They touch on like skin color, they touch on size, they touch on age, they touch on gender, and maybe like, no, I think that was it. But whatever they touch on, height was never addressed. Never. It was just not a thing. Like like it's just height.
Like we're literally overlooked. Literally overlooked, no pun intended. Like, we're looked down on. Like, it's just so many different things, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Like, all my agents are short. All, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying short in a bad way. It's just like we're average.
Yeah, exactly.
We're average, and it's just, we need more representation, and that's what Too Short for What is about. It's about empowering other girls to follow their dreams like me, because I can't do it alone. I can speak on it how many times I want, but like, it's not going to be real change unless like short girls go after their dreams and fight for what they want. Like, It's not just going to be me. I'm just one person. Like, I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I can empower, and I can motivate, and I can inspire, and I can talk about my journey, but everyone's going to have to do, it's a team of us that have to do it.
Exactly. We have to do it all together.
That's why you have your platform. I have my platform. Aliana has her platform. There's a few other platforms that I've been seeing lately that it's the rise of petite women. So like, I like it. I'm happy that like we're taking a stand for what we believe in. I'm happy that we're fighting for our dreams.
Yeah. So to end the interview, the podcast, I always like to ask the guests, the models that I have, for their advice. If you were talking to an aspiring model right now and she doesn't feel like she's enough, she doesn't feel like she's tall enough, pretty enough, she's not skinny enough, her face is not perfectly clear, whatever it is, that there's like an insecurity that she has, that she doesn't feel enough, what would you tell her?
I think to anybody dealing with that, I think you have to first pinpoint your insecurities and figure out what's making you feel that way about yourself. Acknowledge your insecurities and figure out how you can love your insecurities. Like, everything stems from loving yourself and self-love. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't think the eyes that are too far apart on your face are good for you, and that, you know, a clinique will book you because they're too far apart, like, it starts inside. And like, if you really just don't believe in yourself, like, you really won't have the power to make anyone else believe in you in a way. You know, like, you gotta acknowledge self.
Yeah.
And whatever it takes to do that, whether you have to listen to podcasts or motivational talks, or your favorite model and her talking about what she's insecure about, figure it out what you have to do, but it starts with self, and just love yourself, and then turn those insecurities, like Tyra coined the term flossom, turn those flaws that you think you have into something awesome. Tell whatever, like, you know, for instance, being short, it's technically a flaw in the industry. Yeah. We made it awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So just take that thing that you're feeling bad about and turn it into something positive and love yourself. Like, because that's the only way you're going to get anybody to see you the way you see you. If you see you as, you know, if you're not encouraging yourself, if you see yourself in this little dim light, that's how people are going to view you.
Yeah.
So shine a light on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love it. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing your story. I'm going to link your profile for your IG and Too Short for What IG on the description box if anybody wants to follow Dom and her movement. But yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy I get to share my story with more people. So thank you for giving me that platform.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear it. Awesome, girl. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you.